I'm Joe Perez. I sit within Alation's professional services as a functional consultant. I have a tough act to follow. Last week, we had Jim Barker touching on data quality in a similar tone, in a similar fashion. I'll be touching on MDM. Like Debs mentions, this is a part two. The part one was from chaos to clarity. So how we can leverage the data catalog to stand up an MDM implementation. Today's lens is going to be slightly different. It's going to be MDM focused. We are going to define what MDM is. We're going to get into what reference data is, so that's a little new there, but we're also going to be talking about MDM is already existing within your organization. How can we capitalize on that and leverage the catalog to capture some of that information? So again, serving as a refresher, I want to talk about, these definitions. And I took some of the content from last time, some of the questions I've gotten, tailored it slightly to really make sure that you address some of those questions and, make sure we call it out. So what is master data? Master data is data about the business entity, so the who's or the what's within an organization. This could be terms like people, product, or org. More specifically, this could be customer, supplier, vendor, financial policy, insurance policy, things of that nature. So we really want to focus on this static element within the organization. It's not transactions, it's not analytical data, but it's really this consistent, reliable data. And what MDM serves to do, and what MDM serves to accomplish, is to increase consistency, increase reliability, increase data quality, and overall make your organization that much better based off those elements. It's important to have alignment across units. MDM is usually cross-silo, so it's not a specific unit. That's more entity resolution. This is really thinking, big picture across your organization. We're also going to be talking about reference data, and reference data is, in a similar fashion, a type of master data. There's some, slight differences. Usually reference data lives externally to your organization. So the example we have here is something like country codes. We have USA, we have United States, we have 840, and then we have this ISO code. So these are, various flavors of the same things. It's important within your organization that we go about mastering this reference data. We want all of our users to be on the same page. We want that standardization. So typically, again, these are going to be even more static than our master data. They may come externally to our organization, but it's equally important that we do capture and standardize these things. And at the very least, if we are already using standardization, so maybe your organization already uses ISO codes, we want users to know what the ISO code means. So when a user sees ISO 31662, we want users to know that this is the US. Or if they see the numeric value 840, users, your end business users might say 840, I've never heard of that country, where is that? We want users to be able to be pointed to a table, a crosswalk of some sort, to be able to understand that this is the United States, this is the USA, to again create that standardization across your organization. Now I'm going to talk about both of these as the discipline. So Forrester really describes MDM, or master data management, as the process to create that single source of truth. Again, this is going to be across silos. We're going to get the best versions of each one of those records. So if we're looking at a customer name, you may have John Smith that lives at this address with this phone number in one record. You may have the same John Smith, but with a different phone number. We want to establish that best source of truth with MDM and establish what should a golden record for John Smith, the customer, be. MDM helps accomplish that. It gives us better insight. It helps remove things like duplications and really addresses on those 6 dimensions of data quality, namely completeness, so making sure we have a full record, even if it's a Frankenstein of a record coming from different disparate sources. We want consistency, so we want John Smith to have the same phone number and email across all use cases, and we want uniqueness. We don't want to be counting John Smith twice just because he has a different phone number or email address. They could be very much the same person. When a CEO reports to Wall Street about how many unique customers, we want them to have the confidence in their data that they have X many customers. And if you have duplications, if you don't have entity resolution, if you don't have master data, it's almost impossible to say that in complete honesty. On the other side, in a similar note, we have reference data management. The Gartner Institute describes it as the utilization of consistent and uniform set of identifiers. So again, that standardization piece, that universality, it's strategic for us to all be on the same page on what we're calling things. It makes our life so much easier when that standardization exists. Now, what does this look like in the catalog? I'm going to start with MDM. And I'm really going to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here in this next slide. So this is the application of how we can layer the catalog on top of our MDM architecture. So I'm going to break down this architecture from top to bottom. At the very, very top, we have these various systems of record. So I'm going to use a hotel chain for an example. We may have a CRM. That CRM may be our loyalty numbers, things of that nature, just customer records. And in there, each person may need to have a unique email address. As we continue and we move to the right, we may have a retail POS. That might be our hotel's checkout system. That hotel checkout system may have the same names, may have the same phone numbers, but maybe when I'm checking out, I use a different credit card, or I don't mention my loyalty account, or I send it to my work email instead of my personal email. So again, we're seeing that at these systems of records, we have disparate information that differs source to source. As we move on, support and service, that might be, oh, I made a phone call to, upgrade my room or something. So they captured my work phone number instead of my cell number. Again, we have a different Joe Perez in each one of these systems. That's not even to say if I don't, confuse them even more by going by Joseph Perez at checkout, but then Joe Perez within my loyalty account, and then Joe Perez when I'm on the support service line, or Joey or something like that. I'm all the same person across these systems, but from understanding the various attributes, I look very different. What MDM hopes to resolve is looking at all these systems and resolving and saying, this is all the same Joseph Perez with this email, with this phone, and with this loyalty number. It then goes to assign a unique global ID to me based off a set of conditions that I've reached. And MDM is very much rules-based, and these rules are going to take account, oh, he has a similar first name, the exact last name, and the exact state and billing code. Let's consider these two people the same, where his name was a little bit fuzzy, but it wasn't close enough. Let's consider these two different hotel guests. And again, MDM goes through your data across sources and creates these records. Once these records are created, it then may feed it downstream to various sources for consumption. This could be your data lakes, your data warehouses, your data marks, your app analytical tools like Tableau or Power BI. I got the question last session surrounding what connectors does Alation have to MDM? Currently, we don't have anything that connects directly to the MDM application, and that's okay, because as we look at this, we see that the MDM record can be written back to the source of record. It can be written to an enterprise data warehouse. So if it's being written to that enterprise data warehouse for downstream consumption, we can connect to Snowflake. We can connect to Databricks. If the CRM system is, let's say, based off SQL Server, we can connect to that and capture the MDM information. And what this also goes to talk about, it's not just the architecture of MDM, but in those orange and peaks boxes, the orange boxes denote where an article, where a term, where a policy, where documents can be done. And this can document assets, so defining rule sets, capturing the process, defining what the global IDs encompassed, so using a term for that. We also have the peaks object, and that's going to be what we're more used to. That's just cataloging the object at various levels. So this is, cataloging a table that is used for MDM, so a source table, for instance, or cataloging a golden column. So what the master column looks like is going to be denoted in peak. So this is all just layered on top of your MDM record. So really, Alation is serving as the platform to capture all this insight, all this information. And now what I'm about to go into in greater detail is actual applications of cataloging MDM objects, cataloging and defining document assets and things of that nature. And then I'm going to move into reference data in a little bit more detail. So the application, cataloging MDM objects. We have two images down below on this screen. The one on the left is what I'm going to call a source table. It's going to be considered transactional data. So it's under that transactional domain. I see that the source system is Shipwell. I see that we have MDM stewards assigned to it. I see what the golden source is, so I'm pointing users to that information. I'm talking about trust decay, so I'm capturing the information of trust. And what trust is in the context of MDM is how quickly or how fresh data is. Going back to that architecture slide, those different source of record systems aren't going to stay fresh at the same rate. So your CRM system may not be updated by your end user regularly, but your checkouts are going to be more fresh. So something like this may have a medium trust decay compared to a slow trust decay. And that just shows how long we can trust this data, how long this sourced information has priority. So again, different elements that we could capture, the trust decay, the mastered field, is it a critical data element? When looking at the column level, this is a mastered record. So we call out that this field is mastered. We call out that it's not used for matching because it's mastered. So this is a byproduct of MDM in this case. We consider a critical data element its country. We talk about the entity type so that it revolves around product. So this country isn't used for, user's address. This is used for where the product might be shipped to or created or where it's currently sitting. So it's, again, that entity type that we're capturing here. Again, we have the golden source. So what table this country lives in, where it's stored. And we also talk about the source system. So this country could have come from a variety of sources. It could be your Shipwell system, your Juno OOCF connector, and information like that is how this record was comprised. So we get to really see how the sausage is made. MDM is very much a messy process in some instances. We really want to, peel back the layers and see, okay, how was this record created? Where does this record live? Who governs it, and things of that nature. So again, this is how we could catalog MDM objects, so the actual action of looking at it at a metadata level, tables, sources, schemas, columns even, and displaying this information so users have the confidence is, I want to use this country here. It's been mastered. This is the best country field to use for my machine learning applications, for my BI dashboards, for things of that nature. We also want to document MDM assets. So like we saw in that architecture, when the catalog is laid on top of everything, we have the action of cataloging objects, but we also want to document MDM assets. This could be by creating a simple glossary, containing MDM asset terms. So what is a customer entity? What is a product entity? What is an entity? And I know I'm going to get the question, hey, where can we find this? So a little Easter egg in the appendix, I define a bunch of different types of entities. I define what an entity is, so you guys can build this out with a little bit more ease. So I think I provided 16 different entity types that you can then go through and see which one's applicable to you with a short and sweet description. We also want to maybe leverage a domain approach where we have domains capture what's transactional data, what's analytical data, and what's master data. So here we get to see that master data living in that domain, definitely possible. And then users can just go to that master data domain to find data, again, leveraging the catalog as a platform to make discovery, context understanding that much more efficient. We may even want to define the rules. So I have a policy here called Customer 360. I have the columns I'm using to create that golden record for matching. I also have the rule set. So rule 1 is I need every field to be an exact. I need an exact first name, an exact last name, an exact state. As I move down that list, rule 2 might loosen up, but I'm capturing that. It's fuzzy now, exact and exact. Again, now any user can come here to the catalog and see how this was actually captured. Maybe I disagree that we should have fuzzy first and last names. This is something I could then leverage conversations or talk to the MDM stewards to really see how is this being created. Is this the best thing appropriate? But now there's that visibility, there's that context that didn't exist prior to the catalog. This doesn't now live in an Excel sheet in SharePoint tucked away somewhere. This is visible, this is consumable, this is associable within your catalog. And then some other information I call out. The entity type, again, is customer here. The business unit, so who this actually relates to, is sales and marketing. Again, allowing for that easy discoverability, and now allowing for, process and repeatability. Some other things that aren't called out in these images is just documenting the overall process of MDM, training your stewards on, what makes a good match, what matches should be considered for merge, and really allowing Alation to be the place to document these processes. Now I kind of want to get into, or not kind of want to get into, the next thing I want to get into is using the application of Alation to create a reference data catalog set. And what do I mean by this? So this video is going to play on a loop, so don't worry if I'm going too slow or too fast. We want to leverage things like glossaries and terms. What we're seeing now is the glossary that has all these different country codes, describes what a country code is. Now we want to apply this to a catalog set. So I made the membership rules be 15 columns based off a regex expression with various forms of country, and it came up with these 15 columns with country. We're going to drill down into one of them, and now we're going to have the share fields all have that reference term country codes. And now we apply it. If we now click on one of these countries, we see that country codes exist there. We don't want to just say, hey, have this term and manually apply it to every single time country is mentioned in your catalog. We want to go a step farther here at Alation and show you how you can automate this process using a catalog set for your reference data assets. Country codes, one example. You can also have state codes. You can have social security number format. You can have cell phone area codes. The sky's really the limit when we think about what reference data is. It's really standardization within your catalog. And this is just one way we could accomplish that, to make sure everyone's on the same page. When they see a code, when they see a country, they could really map it out. And this is just one easy and efficient way to accomplish that. The next thing I want to show is another option we have. So another option is you could treat your reference data, because again, it is just data, as you would your normal data. So you could have a reference data source that has tables. You can leverage these tables to reside, and then we can run titling. So at the column level, we can leverage this automatic titling. We click yes. We can say from the current table or from a separate table, and then we can map these things out. So here, if we look closely, PIL is the title of this value, C25394. We want all users to have that title, that this is a PIL. We don't want there to be any confusion with what C23594 means. By leveraging this automatic titling at the column value level, whether it's within the table or externally, is a great way for us to master reference data and have everyone be on the same page of what this given value means. So again, super easy. I think it's about 4 clicks in order to get all this information mapped out, and the productivity, the clarity that you create, the control that you're able to have by mastering these things using the catalog is going to be beyond means with those 4 clicks. The next thing I want to talk about, or the last thing I want to talk about, is 360 capitalization. We often think and we often hear customer 360, product 360. We just want to capitalize on the whole 360 area. We want to have Alation be a place for users to collaborate on your MDM and RDM type endeavors. And why do you want to collaborate? Why do you want the ecosystem? Why do you want to govern? To capitalize on the synergies that exist between MDM and the data catalog. MDM creates data. We should treat that data like we would analytical data as transactional. We want to focus on visibility through collaboration. We also want to think about the catalog as a platform to enable discovery and that understanding of your master data. So leveraging the ecosystem and really leveraging and capitalizing on those aspects that the Alation catalog does so well. And govern. MDM is a part of DQ. It's a part of data governance. I could be a doctor at the DQ level. I'm a cardiologist at the data catalog level or the data quality level. And then I'm a heart surgeon at the master data management level. That doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing all three. My doctor should just know just about as much as my heart as my surgeon. There should be all that base level understanding, and the catalog is that level playing field to improve things like data literacy and data governance. Like I said, there is a jammed packed appendix, and that appendix includes things like enterprise data types, just simple MDM architecture, catalog activities, more references for that, the country codes that I showed, more areas surrounding entity information, so what an entity is, various entity types. So we have customer entity, we have legal entity, taxonomy entity, product category entities, talking about the MDM framework, MDM steps, and then the various implementation styles, which really hit on the area of how do I connect to MDM? Well, it depends. Are you writing back to your source systems? Is MDM the single source of truth? And kind of walking through those various flares.